What is up, good people? Welcome back to another video. In this one, we're doing a quick review of a higher water dispenser. So just be taking you guys through the features, the specs, as well as the price, and then we'll just discuss whether it's worth the amount I paid for, and then I'll just give you a review of how it's been for the time that I've been using it. So by the time we were done with the video, you'll be able to know whether it's worth purchasing or if you should go for another brand. So without wasting any more time, let us begin. So as I've said earlier, this is a higher water dispenser. In terms of the specs, it comes with both a hot as well as a cold tap, and it's a top load, meaning you just put the water bottle here on top and then it will dispense. I know that nowadays there are these new dispensers that come where you load them from the bottom, and I'd say the only disadvantage with that is that it needs electricity to continuously pump. So that's the advantage of these top loads. They just rely on gravity, so there's no need for that use of electricity. There are also other dispensers that come with pedals that you can step on, and if you have kids, I'll just tell you right away, avoid those ones because the kids will keep on stepping on them. But if you live alone or you have grown-up children, then yeah, by all means you can go for those ones. I think they're a bit more convenient. But for this one, for higher, the mechanism is just where you put the glass of water or the cup, and then you just push it like this, the water comes out, or you can just push it like this and then again the water will come out. So the water coming out is just the one that was inside of the system when I removed the bottle. But yeah, it's very easy to use, I won't lie. Now, I've been using this dispenser for the past 3 months. I got it on offer in Carrefour, and this video is going out in 2025 in August, and yeah, I bought it at around May. At around May. And for the price, Carrefour had an offer where it was going for 9,000 shillings as opposed to the normal price, which was around 14,000 shillings. So I ended up spending around 9,000 shillings for this water dispenser. So how it's been functioning so far, it's straightforward to use this dispenser. There's nothing much. You just put your water on top, it starts flowing down, and then it also comes with a bit of some storage down here. Just show you guys, there is some storage here where you can put some things, and then you have the manual. And the good thing with this is the fact that it also comes with some of these fuses here that you can use in the event that the current fuses there are burnt. So I'd say I give it a plus for that. And yeah, this is just a nice little storage compartment to have if you needed to hide some things or just store your things. This artworks, this is just stickers that put because you have a baby, just to make the dispenser a bit more attractive for her so that she can drink her water. And when it's on, let me just turn it on here. You can see it just indicates when it's boiling the hot and cold water. Let me just turn it off because you're not supposed to turn it on when there is no active water flow, because that is the quickest way to burn the element that hits the water. So avoid turning on this water dispenser at any point when there's no water, or initially when you put water. What you're advised to do is make sure that it's flowing fast through this tap and this tap before turning it on. And I've ever done this mistake before with a tabletop dispenser where I first turned it on before that water had started to flow, and it just burnt that element for the hot water, so there's no hot water coming out. Luckily, those people are gracious enough to replace it the same day. But it's something that I've learned. Whenever you get a dispenser, just make sure first you put in the water, you let it flow fast before turning it on. Otherwise that will just burn the element of boiling the water. So at the back of the dispenser, there's nothing much to write about. This is where now you have your on and off switch. And you can see it tells you do not switch on until water flows from both hot and cold taps. So just avoid doing that, otherwise you'll just burn the dispenser. And you can turn now the hot switch as well as the cold switch, or you can alternate, whichever you don't use most, you can just turn it off and leave the other one on. So I'd say that's a plus, the fact that you do have those dual controls for the hot and cold function. And then here you do have now the power cord that just goes to the power, and then here is where you have now your outlet valves, where once you open them, any water that was inside the chambers will just come out here. So if you're moving or selling or doing anything to this dispenser or servicing it, it will be best for us to make sure you empty these two valves. So this is for the hot side, this is for the cold side. Now once you open them and the water is clear, then you can just proceed to do whatever it is that you want to do. In terms of the size, you see it's quite a small and compact size. I'd say it's a standard size in terms of how wide it is and how tall it is as compared to most dispensers. And for the weight, I'd say it's also not heavy. This is something that you can easily carry with one hand or by yourself. It's not a heavy dispenser by all means. So I'd say those are the advantages that I've mentioned. It's lightweight, it's easy to use, it doesn't take up much space. It has those two switches for the on and off for the hot and cold water. And yeah, I'd say those are the advantages. Now for the disadvantages, I'd say the major disadvantage for me has been this cold function, if I'm being honest. I live in Athi River. I moved from South B, and in Athi River it tends to get quite hot. And on those really hot days when you just want a cold glass of just water, this one is, I'd say, from a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being not so cold and 5 being the best type of cold, this one just gives you a level 2.5 type of cold. It's not the coldest water that you'd get from a dispenser. I've had dispensers that give me more cold water. So the main disadvantage with this is that it's limited in terms of how cold it makes this cold water. If you have kids, again, you don't want them drinking super cold water, so that won't be much of an issue. But if you're somebody who really enjoys that freezing cold water, then don't go for higher, if I'm being honest. It won't give you that quality of cold water that I was expecting. Other than that, it's also quite noisy. This thing, when you're in the house, you just hear, like, you can hear it literally working to boil and cool the water, which is a bit annoying. But it's not that intrusive, but the fact that you can hear it quite vividly is just something that I really didn't expect, especially comparing it to other dispensers which are more quieter. So again, it just loses points on that. Aside from those two, I'd say that those are the two main disadvantages. It's just so loud, and the cold water isn't as cold as I would have wished. Aside from that, the few months that I've been using it, it served me well. The hot water is boiled quite fast. I think it does a good job with that. But for the cold water, if you really want cold water, just go elsewhere, not this higher. And I'd also recommend considering a 3-tap solution, where you have the hot, and then you have the normal temperature, and you have the cold temperature. I think that's a much more holistic and just useful function, as opposed to this one where now you need to mix. But for me, since that cold water isn't that cold, I don't find myself mixing. But yeah, if you can get the 3-tap solution as opposed to just 2-tap, I just think that gives you more options as opposed to this one. Would I recommend somebody buying this at the end of the day? If you get a good offer for it, go right ahead and buy it. But in my opinion, after I bought it, I realized that there are more options available in the market, especially from the likes of Nunix and the likes. Because if you're going for higher, you're trying to save up on money, you're budget conscious. So there are more budget friendly options from companies like Nunix and the likes, specifically Nunix. I recall I did have a Nunix dispenser in the past, which was a 3-tap solution, and it worked quite well. But if money is not an issue, then I just recommend going for the Vons and the Ramtons and maybe the LGs, and those ones, we're talking about 20,000 plus. But for 9,000 shillings, this one isn't the best and it's not the worst. It's just there in the middle, which is not the worst place to be. But if you want better, you can spend more, and if you want cheaper, there are cheaper options. So again, It's just depending on the offer you get, but it's not the worst dispenser in the world. So if you have any questions or comments regarding this dispenser, just leave them down in the comments. Otherwise, we come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bye for now.